Alright guys, let the debate begin. Today we're going to be talking about the best line in hockey. Every season we see top lines that just put up crazy production, that just put up uncanny numbers. And many of these top lines have very interesting dynamics because not only do they obviously contain, immense levels of skill, but they also have they have complementary traits that really create good chemistry. And while browsing the internet the other day, I came across a pretty interesting comment. Elias Pettersson sits at number 6 in scoring. Brock Boeser sits at number 15 in scoring, and JT Miller sits at number 22. And so the question kind of was, do the Canucks have one of the best lines in the whole NHL? The Lotto 649 line. If you guys aren't fully familiar with this name, Lotto 649, remember it, because in my opinion, it's going to be one of these lines that, really cement itself in Canucks history alongside of other, top lines that the Canucks have had in their franchise. And again, if you guys don't know why it's called the Lotto 649 line, it's because Boeser, who wears number 6, Elias Pettersson, who wears number 40, and JT Miller, who wears number 9, and together they make 649. A Lotto 649, and their line is just pure money. We, of course, have all heard of the West Coast Express line that was Naslund, Todd Bertuzzi, Brendan Morrison, and now we are in the Lotto 649 era. And you know what? Except as Canucks fans this time around, we are seeing this from inception. We get to witness this line do magical things from the start. So buckle up, because we're going to be in for a ride, and we're going to be able to see, this line just continue to dominate, continue to get better as a line, and to just grow chemistry. JT Miller started off this season very hot, registering 4 points in a single outing 3 games into the season. Many people have been really reserved about JT Miller, which is definitely really understandable, but he has continued to be very persistent, and he has continued to be very consistently putting up respectable numbers. And obviously trading a first-round pick for a player coming off kind of a down year seems very risky and just kind of idiotic from, Canucks management side. And considering that the Canucks have been a team that have been drafting super high in every draft for the past 4 years, I can definitely understand the frustration. However, JT Miller has brought a completely new dynamic to this line, one that has allowed them to be more consistent, and he's brought a dynamic that has really elevated them to the next level. Miller plays a strong two-way game. In his own end, he makes sure that everything is taken care of, and then more importantly, he gets into the corners and retrieves pucks. Now contrast this type of player type against a player like Nikolai Goldobin, who we saw on the Elias Pettersson Brock Boeser line for long stretches last season. Now, Goldie is very suspect in his own end. He's very suspect defensively. He doesn't really battle in corners, and his offensive production hasn't fully translated, so it's not like he compensates it for, highlight reel goals and just fantastic point production. Now compare that to JT Miller, who battles so hard in corners, he retrieves pucks, he creates space, and not only that is he puts up really consistent point totals better than, Goldobin, who's supposed to be that more offensive, purist guy. Miller has been a fantastic addition, and his 15 points in 14 games has, it's just been the cherry on top. JT Miller honestly has a pretty similar playing style to Bo Horvat, and compared to last season, having another Bo Horvat in our lineup, playing with PD and Boeser is just a great thing. Boeser has been heating up with 16 points in 14 games, and I feel like in the first 3 to 4 games, Boeser was a bit off, maybe because he didn't get the full training camp in because he wasn't signed, but so far this season, I've noticed huge improvements in his skating, his agility, his back-checking, and his shooting is finally starting to dial in. And funny enough, I see people around the internet saying that Boeser was a snub for being a star of the week last week, and I mean, people definitely aren't wrong. Boeser in the last 3 games has put up 5 goals, 2 assists, 7 points in 3 games, which is honestly just amazing production. But I mean, it is whatever. People probably get just as angry around the NHL when there's multiple stars from a single team. So, I mean, I guess we'll take what we can get with Pettersson being the first star of the week. Pettersson again was the first star of the week, registering 9 points in 4 games, and it's definitely nice to get some recognition from the league after being ranked number 15 in the power rankings last week, after getting points in 11 out of the past 12 games. Just kind of ridiculous. And Pettersson has been very consistent in the recent games. In fact, in the past 7 games, he's put up 14 points, so 2 points per game in the past 7 games, which is really crazy production. And PD is definitely starting to go back to his old tricks, really turning up his production after kind of a relatively slow start compared to his standards. And the interesting thing is, even though Pettersson is definitely dominating on the score sheet, which I mean he does attribute to his teammates, I still feel as if Pettersson's scoring ability has barely been unlocked. All his points, all his goals are coming off more high percentage plays or just bounces or him driving to net and getting those gritty goals. Brock Boeser is starting to get dialed in terms of his shooting production, but I still feel as if we've barely seen Petey get to the level that he was at last season. In fact, I don't think we've seen it at all. I think he's only really had one goal where I'm like, wow. Well, I guess besides the goal where he swatted it in from mid-air. I think it was the 5th goal in the last outing against LA Kings where he absolutely sniped it on Quick. But other than that, we haven't really been seeing those highlight reel moments that Pettersson was just displaying all last season. And in fact, I would say Pettersson scored 28 goals last year. I would say at least 20, 22 of those goals were just amazing highlight reel, displays. And whether that was an absolute rocket 1T, a nasty dangle, or an absolute snipe, or perhaps we just see something completely different, like, that crazy passing play to Brock Boeser where he banks it off behind the boards behind the goalie and Boeser finishes it. This season we haven't really seen this stuff, and he's still one of the top scorers in the whole NHL. So it's actually kind of a scary thought to think that, there's been so much success in this line, and I feel like there's still so much potential to completely elevate this scoring of this line way further. And now that the boys are starting to get warmed up and chemistry is really starting to show, we may just see a very dominant season out of the Lotto 649 line. Which, to be honest, guys, it's just a scary thought because, Pettersson, they've all been, producing so well. Our goal differential is still number 1 in the whole NHL, and I still feel as if they have way more to give. And the great production out of the Lotto 649 line puts them right among the top lines in the whole NHL. In fact, currently as I record this video, they are number 3 in the whole NHL in terms of a single line's point production, which is honestly fantastic. They only sit behind the Boston Bruins line, of course, who is Pasternak, Bergeron, and Marchand, just completely nasty. And then the Edmonton Oilers, McDavid and Draisaitl, and whoever else they slot in there, whether that's Zach Kassian or James Neal. And so they're 3rd in the NHL in terms of their point production, and that's just fantastic. But to circle back to the question of this video on, do the Canucks have the best line in the NHL? No, I do not think they do. I think they're definitely outclassed by the Bruins and the Oilers with McDavid. However, I think it is extremely exciting that the Canucks are just even a part of this conversation. The fact that we are so early on into this process and we're seeing so much production, again, is just amazing. The Lotto 649 line has just been such a nice surprise, and honestly, I just feel kind of bad for Bo. He was expecting that big upgrade on the wing to create better depth, but unfortunately, the stars aligned with the Pettersson line, and JT Miller has been a perfect fit. And funny enough, I'd actually kind of strongly associate Quinn Hughes with the Lotto 49 line, so maybe we need to rename this line to include Hughes. Lotto 649 plus 43. Doesn't sound too great, but if you think about the dynamic in the power play, Quinn Hughes is definitely a big driver in this too. The Canucks have had some phenomenal lines throughout history. Of course, the West Coast Express with the highly skilled Marcus Naslund, the highly skilled playmaker that complemented the scoring ability of Bert and Naslund, which is Brendan Morrison, and Todd Bertuzzi, the strong power forward goal scorer who could retrieve pucks, play with grit, get in those dirty areas, but also possess lots of skill. And recently, of course, we had the Sedins, Henrik, the highly skilled playmaking centerman, Daniel, the shooter, who was also gifted with elite playmaking ability, and then Alex Burrows, who was the goal scorer who played with grit, retrieved pucks, and had the skill to make him a very hated player. And the same could definitely be said about Kessler, but as I broke down some of the most famous Canucks lines, do you see a common theme? A shooter, a playmaker, and a physical but offensively capable player who could, retrieve those pucks and play with grit. And this really seems to be like kind of the recipe for success because JT Miller is that, that added dynamic that has really, completed this line. We are seeing so much depth scoring through the lineup, a crazy amount of goals being scored, a really stable and reliable blue line, 2 rocks in net. And, as Canucks fans, we're really blessed this season. And I feel like the more and more I watch the Canucks, the more I really do feel as if playoffs are in grasp. So let's hope that the team remains consistent. They remain healthy. The depth within our lineup has already drastically improved, injuries. And you can really tell when an injury does occur that how much it has a negative effect on the lineup. So, and let's hope that this Lotto 649 line continues to gain chemistry and just continue to dominate the score sheet because as a Canucks fan so far, we have just been so privileged with seeing this amazing line. But anyways, guys, what do you guys think about the Lotto 649? Where do you think they will rank in terms of team history? I'm really confident about this line. Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys later.